Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wednesday here on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your host, Eric. This week we are talking about shadow and the darker side of magic. So, this week we have two questions from two separate viewers. The first of which is from Lighthearted Leo. I have a question. What qualifies as your shadow and shadow work? They're interested in working with the inner mechanics of their self and want to know what methods there are to working with your shadow, in quotations. Um, Due to the fact that I have no idea what that's talking about, I can't really help. I'm assuming you're talking about the darker parts of your own personality and getting to know yourself. Really, all I do when it comes to that is acknowledging the fact that I am having a thought that I would not want impressed upon me, uh, or an idea of if I want to get even with someone, or if I, things like that. The things that I consider negative, I acknowledge that they exist, and then I do my best to either dismiss them or take into account why I'm having those feelings or thoughts, or why I feel that part of me is necessary to be present. Because if you don't have dark, you cannot have light. You cannot have good without evil, and although some people would disagree with that, that's my opinion. So really, when you're talking about working with yourself, really all that means to me is taking a moment or taking some time to recognize and consider the emotions and the tendencies, or at least thoughts that you have on, you know, possibly less than above board feelings, and then you deal with that as a person. You have to do that on your own. Other than that, I can't really help because I don't know much about shadow work, as is stated here. The second one is from Witches for the Win, and this one's a little bit longer, and there are more questions. It is, what are your views on perhaps the darker side of witchcraft? Not necessarily evil, but just more intense practice. For example, what do we think of Christian Dana's book Witches, Book of the Dead, or Leanne Marama? Who are the dark goddesses, such as Hecate? Are they evil, or just represented as a force of change and shadow? Well, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on all as much of this as I can. I've never read Christian Day's Witch's Book of the Dead. I've never heard of Leanne Marama. But when it comes to things that people would consider dark magic or hexes and curses and things like that, I would have to say I have no desire to do any of that, because I don't feel like putting negativity out, and that's what I see that as, is putting negativity out does nothing more than puts me in that mindset. It doesn't make me feel good, so I'm not going to do it whenever I can avoid, being negative. I'm not always great at it. I do have the days where I just hate everyone and want everyone to leave me the hell alone. Which kind of segues into dark goddesses. In the Norse religion, Hela is the goddess of the underworld. She deals with the dead. I don't personally see her as a dark goddess as opposed to a goddess who deals with dark things, because Hela is seen as split right down the middle, a goddess of death and a goddess of inane beauty and wonder. She deals with people in the afterlife unless Odin or Freya chooses that person specifically through their death in battle. They go to Hela's realm to be separated out into the places where they belong. Either they go back into Q to be born into their family again, or they get to go and spend a time in, either the cold terribleness of hell, or the wonderful, warm, happy Summerland type place of the Glittering Hall, or somewhere in between. But that's her job, is to separate out everyone who died of old age or sickness or accident or whatever. So she's really not evil. She is seen by many as a dark goddess. And, I do give her veneration when it's appropriate, like on Samhain. But outside of that, I don't tend to put her on a pedestal above any of the other gods or goddesses in the pantheon. So really, it's just one of those things where she's important, but she's not most important all of the time. The last part was, are they? Yes, uh, she's definitely representative of change and things that we often as mortals don't like to think about or deal with. So lots of people are afraid of her. But if you take into account that the ancestry is, veneration and worship of your dead, then really that's not an issue. It's not one of those things that you have to see as scary or dark or mysterious or anything. It's just honoring the people who came before you and brought you about. So that's basically my take on Shadow and, venerating the dead and the dark goddesses. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to post those in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, everybody, and of course, until next time, Odin be with you.